Hello, my darlings. hello. So, Priestess May here. We'll see if a few of you come on. I know it's Friday night. Hello. Friday night going into Saturday, and I'm sure a lot of people are out having some fun. But I wanted to come on and do a message of the day. And the message of the day today is one that I've really felt. Hello from France. Hi. Oh, I just decided today to study up on my French from high school. So good luck to me. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So tonight I'm going to be doing a general message of the night. But I wanted to start with something that came up today and that I wanted to really talk about, and it has a lot to do with Valentine's Day. So as a reader, I tend to get a lot of messages on Valentine's Day, and I tend to sense a lot of love from our people in couples, but I tend to sense a lot of sadness from those whom are not coupled with someone. And I really wanted to come on and talk to you guys about that today. And the truth of the matter is, all of us want love, right? And all of us want it now. But I do, around Valentine's Day, actually, Valentine's Day is my least favorite day of the year because of that, not because I get messages, but because I sense a lot of sadness around Valentine's Day. As an empath, it kind of brings me down a little bit because I sense that sadness from those who maybe aren't coupled, who are having some trouble, and who are just waiting for their one to come. So usually, I have to be honest with you guys, usually Valentine's Day is not my favorite day, even though I have a spouse who is amazing and who purchased something for me and really loves Valentine's Day. But for me, I sense so much sadness that I sometimes kind of don't like Valentine's Day. I kind of make myself busy so I don't have to sense so much sadness. But anyway, enough about that. The reason why I wanted to come on tonight is because I've been getting a sense that a lot of you are having a hard time releasing an old energy, okay? So I was in the shower, and my guides are saying to me, there are so many of your followers that are having a hard time releasing someone from their past, hard time releasing their ex and releasing their previous relationship and holding themselves back from that relationship which we're trying to put in their path. There's so many messages from your angels, especially when I'm around running water. So that could be in the shower, or if I'm walking by the river or walking by the beach, I get a lot of messages from your guardian angels and your guardian angels, your spirit guides, whatever you want to call them. And they're just like, your followers need to hear this. So the message tonight is about releasing your ex. Okay, so maybe you are having a hard time letting go of that person. Maybe you're having a hard time, and maybe, to be honest, it's not even because you love them anymore, but rather because you're lonely or you feel sad and you don't want to be alone. And that's okay. It is okay that you may be holding on. It's hard to change. Archangel Azrael sees the grieving of a relationship the same as if you were grieving a passing. Okay? So it's hard to let go of that person. So one of the biggest questions that I get is, how do I let go of someone? Okay. So the biggest thing that my guides have suggested to me, which was something that I had to go through myself when I was with someone else before my spouse, I really, to be honest with you, I really was in a dark place, and I hated that person. I try to never use the word hate because I don't like to give people that energy, but I really I that person and I just were not made for each other. It was clear that we were not made for each other. But it was something that I ended up in because I felt that I had to prove something to those around me, because I was getting older, and because in my culture, if you're not married by the time you're 20, then you're gonna be an old lady alone forever. And if there's any Hispanic women here, back me up on this. If you are over 20 and you're not married, somehow, we're gonna be alone forever, which is not true. But anyway, I really didn't like this person. And after we broke up, and my guys were like, you're just gonna have to get over this. You're gonna have to get over this. And I'm just like, but how? I can't stand this person. I can't get their energy off of me. I just can't. And then they said to me, you know what? Can't is in your mind, okay? Can't is what you have put yourself into in order to continue hating them, in order to continue holding this anger over them, and in turn turning this anger into yourself and ending up in depression. I heard this amazing thing from one of the people that I look up to, and she said, rage is against other people, depression is anger turned in. Okay? And I said, oh my goodness, I was so angry. Yes, being angry creates anger in yourself. So I was so angry at this person for not loving me the way that I deserve to be loved, for not showing me that I mattered, for not showing me that they cared. When in reality, that person just didn't know how to love themselves. That person was a drug addict. That person was an alcoholic. They had their own demons, and they didn't know how to love themselves. So I had in a way, I had no right to ask them to love me. Yes. So for me, the way that I showed my own lack of self-love was I used to eat my feelings. I used to just eat, and it always made me feel so terrible afterwards, that I suffered, through a lot of mental issues in the sense of self-confidence. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't want to go out. I was depressed. I didn't want to be around people. If you guys watched my video on how I started working with Archangel Michael, this was in my teens, okay? I didn't have any self-worth. So I was really in a bad place. And unfortunately, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it because I didn't really feel that I could express what I was feeling, okay? So now, thank God and my angels that I have recovered from that. But it was a dark place that I was in, and it led to some dark things, and it led to some almost a really terrible decision that Archangel Michael saved me from. But it's really important to remember, to get back on track, to let go of that anger. Okay? One of the best ways to let go of someone else's energy is anytime that you are with someone, you have to remember that you absorb their energy. So when you're with them, your body literally creates a hormone that is a bonding hormone that is on the not just your chemical levels but also your spiritual level. Okay, so it's important that you release that bonding hormone, and the best way to do that is to do cleansing baths. So you can do cleansing baths just as easy as doing sage and rosemary and anything like that. Doing some meditations on releasing attachments, doing some meditations on increasing self-worth and self-confidence. Great angels for that. Archangel Michael is amazing when it comes to self-confidence. But a lot of beings can assist you as well, through prayer and through meditation and through even spell work, okay? So one of the best ways to release the energy of your ex, to release the energy of that person, is to cleanse yourself, okay? We, especially both men and women, should be cleansing themselves after they have a relationship with someone. Another thing is, but especially with women, we are vessels, so we are the receivers of energy a lot of the time. And you know, men, you give energy. So if you are giving energy to someone who is toxic, it might not be the best thing for you. And if you're receiving energy from someone that's toxic, it's not the best thing for you. So the first thing, it's funny that these, because I pulled some cards before I did this. The first card, I was already thinking about this. The first card was release your ex. It's time. The time has come to clear your energy. Holistic Goddess, if you've cleansed and you've cut cords and you're still connected, there is still anger, there's still some sort of anger or resentment towards that person. You have to remember that when you cut cords and you continue to think about that person, the cords get reattached. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that that you just cut cords and that's it. You cut cords. But if you cut cords and then you start thinking about that person again, or start giving that person energy, then you automatically reconnect those cords again, and then those cords will continue pulling at you. No, it's not a twin flame connection. Twin flame connections are the most rare because twin flames are people who are super spiritually ascended themselves individually, and then together they make a powerhouse couple. That is what a twin flame connection is. A soulmate relationship are people who are bonded already in a soul bond, but they still have to learn lessons with each other. They still have to grow together. That is what a soulmate relationship is. And then you have karmic soulmates, which are people who basically came together. Maybe they reincarnated together from a previous life, and now you guys are kind of there. It's a karmic relationship. So maybe in the previous life you weren't so nice to this person, so in return now it's kind of like a karma thing in this life. But it's the twin flame bond. You can have that with someone, and then if you don't continue to build on yourself and continue to grow yourself spiritually, both of you as individuals and as part of the couple, that twin flame relationship can start to debilitate and then break as a twin flame and become just soulmate relationships. That's why it's important to always have self-care, self-love, and to continue working on yourself, okay? Yes, so if you stop thinking about this person, you must work on you must identify what emotion it is that is connecting you still to this person. Is it hatred? Is it resentment? Is it sadness? Is it denial? Is it whatever it is? A great resource to look at is the 7 stages of grief. When I was going through my situations, and I was not just mourning an ex, but mourning any person. Maybe you had to stop speaking to a parent, or you had to stop speaking to someone. Those are really hard to even talk about, but let's focus on the romantic relationships. The 7 stages of grief, in psychology, they can be very helpful for us, both for our spiritual body and for our physical, emotional, and mental bodies. Okay, the 7, at first you're in shock and you're in denial, and then you go through the stage. You may think you're on stage 5 and then read the stages of grief and realize you're only on stage like 2. Because the other day I was talking to a friend and she was like, no, I have gone through all the stages of grief. We've talked about it in therapy, blah blah blah. And then I was like, okay, let's read the stages of grief. And then she was like, oh my god, I'm only like on stage 3. which is like anger. And then like you go through different ranges of emotions as you're grieving something. So it's important to go through them and to get over them. So another great way for me to release is affirmations. So affirmations: I matter. I matter enough to cut ties with this person. I am a child of God. I am a child of light. I deserve better. I deserve to be loved. I am, these are affirmations that you can do. I am beautiful. I am not less than. So sometimes we feel that because someone didn't choose us, that somehow there's something wrong with us. But maybe they weren't made for us. They weren't made to fit our puzzle piece. So if you think of people as puzzle pieces, and you're trying to wedge two puzzle pieces together that just don't go together, you're gonna have that struggle for the rest of your life. Whereas I'm at a point now that I'm like, if something is not working and I've tried to work it out and it's just not working, not fitting right, then maybe it's better to just let go and allow myself the self-respect and the self-healing to open up to a new opportunity, because we have so much time left. We only have so much time on this earth in each lifetime. And do you want to waste your entire lifetime on a person that you obviously, you've given them 7 chances and they still, they're still not fitting your puzzle piece, or you're hoping that they're going to change, then it may not work out. Another great thing that I heard from one of the people, a very much elder priestess that I look up to, she said you should never be with someone because of their potential. I had to learn, that was a lesson that I had to learn. You should never be with someone for their potential. So you may see someone's potential, but thank you. It's called snake skin. Thank you, Carmencita. So you should never be with someone for what you feel that they have the potential to do, because you're always going to be disappointed. Okay, sometimes people do not realize their potential, or if you feel pity for them, exactly, that either. Maybe they're not meant to realize their potential with you, and then what's gonna happen? You guys are gonna kind of have some crazy stuff going on there, where you're gonna be pulling each other back and forth in different directions and being angry at each other, and just complicated. But anyway, the moral of the story is great ways to release. Look at the stages of grief. They can be very, very helpful in releasing people. Understanding where you're at is important in understanding what you need to move forward, what you need to do to move forward. Because a person who is on stage 2 is not going to need to do the same thing as a person who's on stage 5 of the stages of grief. I wish I would have written down the stages of grief, because I used to know them by heart. The first one, I believe, is shock and denial. The second one is bargaining. The third one is anger. The fourth one is, I believe, transition. The fifth one, I believe, is acceptance. And then you go through like healing, and then you're over it, kind of thing. And that happens with a lot of us. Some of us skip certain stages. So we go from like stage of shock to stage of anger, and we just skip the whole bargaining thing. So it's really important to identify where you're at so that you can move forward. And this is true even for spiritual connections. So if you're having dreams about a person all the time, okay, if you're having dreams about a person all the time, then that means that your higher self literally has not let go of that person yet. There is still, that bond is still there. So you need to work on in your conscious and subconscious level. And I love doing this in hypnosis because a friend of mine practices hypnosis and she's amazing at it. And the greatest things, and you can do this during meditation. So meditation and hypnosis are very, very similar. Meditation is basically where you are kind of guiding yourself through the subconscious mind, whereas hypnosis, it's like you have a partner that helps you in traveling through the subconscious mind. So they're very similar, but I find that it's easier sometimes to get hypnotized than it is to meditate, but whatever, that's not the point. The point is you need to work on your subconscious mind releasing this person too. So as you're working in the physical realm, we have to also remember that there's a spiritual realm, that there's an astral realm too. There are so many realms. We live in between so many realms. Why? Because we are a spiritual being in a human body. We are not just human bodies with a spirit. Okay, so we are spiritual beings in a human body. So because we are spiritual beings in a human body, we travel between worlds. When we're asleep, we're traveling through the astral realms. Maybe we travel to the 5th dimension or 6th dimension or 7th dimension, depending on your level of ascension or your level of awareness, both subconsciously and consciously, of where you are spiritually. But you have to remember that person is also traveling through the astral realm. So their higher self could be out there just traveling, having a good time, and you and your higher self and their higher self see each other in the astral realm, and you guys are like, oh no, I had a dream about so-and-so. And most of the time, I have had this happen where, like, for example, my mom and I are both priestesses, so we're very connected. So when I have a dream about my mom, she tells me the next day that she had a dream about me. So we know, right? My partner and I, if we have dreams about each other, we usually dream about each other in the same night. And that is believed that you are actually talking to your higher selves. Your higher selves are talking to each other. So you're telling me, Priestess May, so how does that help me? Like, what does that matter if my higher self is talking to their higher self in the other plane? It does. Why? Because right before you go to sleep, you can write a letter to yourself. You can write a letter to yourself and go to bed with the intent of, I want to connect with so-and-so's higher self, and this is the message that I want to say. And maybe you don't get to have closure in the physical realm, but you get to have closure in the spiritual realm. And then everything that happens in the spiritual realm, in the subconscious realm, will eventually catch up to the material realm, okay? So it's important for you, if you have certain intents, if you have certain things you want to do, or you want your mind to accept, you want your emotional self to accept, you can go to bed with that intent, go to sleep with that intent. Now, don't let that intent overtake you so much that you can't have a peaceful sleep and actually meet that person's higher self in your sleep, but rather just go with a calm state. What I love to do is I love to drink chamomile tea. Chamomile tea is amazing because it calms your mind enough to go to sleep, but it also it calms you, but it also brings you focus. So if you're going to bed with a certain intent, it will allow you to have the focus. And now this isn't going to happen the first time that you try it if you have never meditated before, or if you have never been hypnotized before. Usually when you've been hypnotized before or you've meditated before, it's much easier to create your own intent and your own path during your dreams. So there's such things as astral dreaming, where we are able to see that. There's actually been scientific studies where they've noticed that when you sleep, your weight changes. So the weight, they have actually been able to measure, like, some sort of way the weight of our souls, right? So yeah, so you want to speak to you can speak to your ex's higher self. So that's a good way. That's another great way to try to. Another great way to also release someone is to write to them. Like I said before, write to them. You don't have to necessarily deliver the letter. You can burn the letter. And I've noticed that when you burn the letter, it really, it's kind of received. It's interesting, but it feels received. And from that moment on, you say, you know what? This person is no longer going to hold me back from my healing. I'm going to move forward. But it has to, you have to make a conscious effort to do that, to release. So, you have to make a conscious effort to release it. No. You guys can totally, if you guys are not even together anymore, Holistic Goddess, then you've gone from a twin flame to a soulmate. So you can totally release that. Another thing a lot of people don't know is that you are born with more than one soulmate. So these soulmates can narrow down to being a twin flame. So these are things that can kind of just develop. You don't have to necessarily, you're not necessarily stuck with someone forever. So we make soul contracts a lot of the time. So we make soul contracts sometimes in our previous lives, or before we are reincarnated into this world, we make soul contracts with people. We can release these soul contracts. We can say to our guides, guardian angels. We all have a guardian angel, so we can speak to our guardian angels and say, guardian angel, in the nicest way possible, I would like to release my soul contract with so-and-so, okay? Determined 1024, I talked about the differences between a twin flame and a soulmate earlier, so when I'm going to post a replay, so you might want to watch it afterwards. Basically, the summary of it is that you are born with many soulmates, but there's only a certain few twin flames in that level of after that. So it's like a pyramid. If you think of it as a pyramid, the bottom is like your soul family. So your soul family includes you, your family members, your friends, people who are actually put on this world for you to meet, and for you to help ascend with you. And then you have, soulmates, and you have karmic soulmates, and you have a twin flame at the top. But the twin flame at the top, like I said before, is something that it takes work, guys. Just because someone is your twin flame doesn't mean that you are going to get up there. We've got to work on it. We all have to work on it. And the way that we work on it is by working on ourselves. I know, right? That's the trick. A lot of the times we're like, we have to work on them. No, that person has to choose to want to work on themselves. You have to choose to want to work on yourself, to work on your self-confidence, on your self-worth, on your triggers too, because sometimes we have triggers from childhood that can really break down every single relationship that we have. Okay? I had to identify my triggers because I was brought up reacting to things in a certain way, and as I grew up and as I developed and as I worked on my relationship, I had to really I had to really identify my triggers so that I could get out of my own way. Okay. Yes, they have to take themselves to go out of misery. Sergio asks, is it possible some lifetimes you don't get to meet or be with your twin flame? If so, why not? You have to realize you have, I hate to tell you this, but you have more than one twin flame in different lifetimes. So let's say you are meant to be with a different twin flame, and how do I say this? Different souls, it's hard to explain. Different souls can have different twin flames based on the lifetime they're in. If I were to explain it to you, it might get a little confusing because it can take a long time to explain the different levels of ascension, the dimensions, the space and time continuum. So that is a little bit, that might be a whole video for me to explain why you are incarnated with certain soul families, certain twin flames, certain soulmates. At the end of the day, it's all your spiritual journey. It's all your journey, and it's part of your progression and your lessons. So certain twin flames, I always like to say this is the way my guides have explained it to me, is that being able to be with your twin flame is almost like a reward for things you've done in your previous lifetimes. Whereas being with a soulmate might be a little challenging. Being with a soulmate can also be very rewarding. It doesn't have to necessarily be a twin flame. And some soulmates aren't even romantic. Some soulmates can be best friends, or even parents that had to resolve. I do find that there's a lot of parents that end up being karmic. Exactly. So what I'm saying is twin flames aren't always going to be here at the same time. So your twin flame could be, let's say, just to put it in human terms, it's not linear like this, but your twin flame could be in the past and you could be here. Or your twin flame could be in the future, in another lifetime, in, maybe 2021. Or 21, a century from now, and you're in this lifetime. So, but because we can travel back and forth in time, that's why I said that for me to explain timelines and how time is not linear, and it would be videos upon videos of me explaining that, because it has a lot to do with that. So you could have met your twin flame and not even know it yet. However, if you are incarnated usually with your twin flame, you are definitely going to meet them. Why? Because you are meant to be here together for a reason. And usually twin flames come here together to be, to somehow make a large impact as a couple. So what I have noticed from a lot of people who have twin flame connections, they're usually what I guess you would call power couples. So they grow together and they make a large impact on the world together as twin flames. So when you're at a level already where you're like that ascended to be a twin flame, it's almost like you are sent here together for a joint mission, to better the world, and through your love, through your shared connection. So, and then you are able to maybe step up in your next life. You'll be able to step up together as spirit guides or as angels, because you can be turned into spirit guides when you go into another lifetime, once you've reached a certain level of ascension. So let me see, someone had a good question that I wanted to answer. So twin flames are usually not bad relationships. They're usually not karmic relationships. So there's a difference. Twin flames are people that are meant to actually have a joint mission together as in their love, and their mission could be as simple as being an example of a great family, of having a great family, or being an example to the world of being great people who share love and who make a large impact together. But karmic relationships, think about it like this. In a previous life, so I had a friend actually who did have 2 karmic relationships, and we found out during her hypnosis that both of her ex-husbands she actually killed in her last lifetime. So her last lifetime she killed both of her current ex-husbands. Now her ex-husbands are alive in this lifetime, but in her previous lifetime with them, she actually murdered them. So when she reincarnated in this lifetime, they made her life hell. Okay, and that was because their souls still held a lot of resentment for her for murdering them. So that is that kind of stuff that can happen when you have a karmic relationship. So karmic relationships are usually lessons that are from this, that are things that maybe you did that were destructive in a previous lifetime. I can't hold her accountable for the fact that she murdered her husbands in her previous life, but she found out that's what it was, and she figured it out, and she was able to kind of come to terms with it and cut that karmic relationship. And now she's in a happy relationship, and she just got married, so that's really cool. How do you know who? That's really hard to tell. It depends. Sometimes you can do readings and find out. That can also happen. Yes, the Black Widow. That can happen to families too. So you can have some tragic thing that happened in a previous life. So then you get reincarnated into a soul family that is very toxic in this lifetime. That can be very destructive or disruptive. And it may have to. And then you may also feel like very alone all the time, like you don't really connect with these people. And sometimes, because your soul was meant to be born, sometimes you're born into a new soul family, and you can feel like you don't belong there because these are a new soul family to you. They're completely new to you. Then maybe you don't have a connection with them spiritually. So, Faith, you didn't behave the best in your past life. I didn't either. I was a lot of different things in my past lives. I did some, one day I'm do a video and tell you guys some of my past lives. I have the recordings of myself walking through my past lives and describing what I saw and all of that kind of stuff. There were some things that I'm not proud of. From my past life. A way to break from family thing. Now, sometimes when you're put into a new soul family and you don't feel like you're part of them and they have a destructive cycle, you're put there to help break the cycle. So what family curses are when a cycle becomes innate. So let's say the moms in the family, they all hate each other. They all have a bad relationship with the daughter. Or sons always have a bad relationship with their father, and so on. And there's a cycle of abuse. And then it becomes expected abuse, okay? Now, what happens is sometimes if this family keeps doing this and no one ever breaks the cycle or breaks this family curse, your guides may choose to put you there, even though you're new to that soul family, to break that cycle, to become aware, to be the one to become aware and to bring awareness to that cycle of destructiveness and to end that curse, okay? So that curse will end with you, and so that a new cycle can start, okay? So you can break, yes, so you gotta, so sometimes you're put into a new soul family for that purpose, and even though you don't want to really be around them, it really is just even though you don't want to be around that family, you may have the purpose of actually being the one to put light to the problem. To show them that they have problems, that they have demons that need to be exorcised from that family. So it's really important. Sometimes, Jay, you have to be the bigger person and speak to them about it, because a lot of the times how other people behave towards you is how they actually behave towards them, how they actually feel towards themselves. A lot of people it takes a long time to be able to see people for who they are and not just for a reflection of yourself, okay? There are times when we hate ourselves, so we project it onto other people. It takes a long time. As someone who has been doing this for a while and who has been working on their spiritual journey, I still sometimes make that mistake with my own family of projecting how I feel onto them. Or they make the mistake of projecting how they feel towards me, and there's misunderstanding sometimes, but we talk about it, we work it out. But it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of self-work and self-care to really look at yourself and be like, oh my God, this and this. Maybe I was projecting, or them, or maybe they're projecting onto me. Like, there's a lot of parents that I have done readings for that have come out and said to me, you know what, I have a bad relationship with my child because I resent that they get to live the life that I didn't get to live. Okay? So sometimes parents don't hate you, they just hate themselves for not having the courage or taking the risk of being who they wanted to be. They chose to be someone they didn't want to be, just to follow what society was telling them that they should do. So then they have resentment towards their children or their grandchildren or so on and so forth, and it becomes a reflection. So 99% of the time, it's a reflection. It's a reflection. A lot of how people behave towards you is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. So it's important to think about that, and to be aware of what is going on. Let me see. Someone asked me a question. La la la. Yes, healing patterns are very difficult because patterns are comfortable to us. We are a humanity, not our spirit selves, but our human selves. Our brain was programmed to follow patterns. And when we are not awake to our spirit, we follow the pattern of our brain rather than the pattern of our hearts and our guts. Okay. When I was training to be in the criminal justice field, because I went to law school, I used to come around a lot of cops that would say to me, you know, I follow my gut. And I'm like, but isn't, like, and a lot of people, a lot of people would be like, shouldn't you follow the evidence, or shouldn't you follow this, shouldn't you follow that? But there was some cops that were really, really good cops, and they were literally just like, I follow my gut because my gut never lies to me. And I had an amazing mentor when I was on that path. And yeah, you have three brains. You really do. You have your conscious brain, your subconscious brain, and then you have your animal brain, which is the one, your mind, your heart, and your gut. Yeah. Well, you have three brains within your brain, and then you have three brains within your body, your mind, your heart, and your gut. But you have that animal brain that just is fight or flight, and things, when they're comfortable, they seem natural, and when something disrupts it, which is why spiritual journeys are so difficult, being awakened is so difficult, because it feels super uncomfortable. Being awake feels super, super, super uncomfortable. It's like being unplugged from the Matrix. It just feels super uncomfortable, because you're in between where you're like, you know, this 3D drama doesn't really matter. Thank you. Thank you, Nora. You're gonna start working where you're like, oh my God, this 3D drama doesn't matter. Like, this releasing my ex doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll just deal with him in my next life, and I'll just kill him in my next life. But it is difficult to say, you know what, I have to be an awakened being and be comfortable with the uncomfortable and just let it go. Is it really worth it? But, you know, I've spoken my truth. Let it go. Move on. There is something else coming along. There is the wedding coming, okay? I love this card because as I was getting ready for this, I was like, you know, so many of you guys holding on to this ex, and we are holding ourselves back from getting that love and marriage that we actually want, right? Because we're so caught up in the mundane. So I call the mundane just the everyday things that we do out of anger or pettiness. Sometimes we don't see the value in others because we don't value ourselves. So I've always had this where I used to come across a lot of people where I would value them, and I'm the type of person that literally, if you told me this card is worth $100, I'd be like, okay. And I just give it to you, be like, this is your artwork. This is what's worth, you know? But that's because I value myself, and then in turn, I value other people. And I value other people's works. But we have to get out of the mindset that everything is so difficult. We really have a lot of power. We have our own magic. So whether it's cutting cords from an ex, getting the money that we need, moving our lives in the direction we want to move our lives to, developing spiritually, it all comes down to how much do you believe in yourself and you believe in the guides around you. And it's possible, okay? It's possible to do it. But you have to have the faith in yourself and in your guides to help you. And I can tell you, by no means am I perfect. I have my moments when I'm like, is this really gonna work? And my guides were like, we've already told you this is gonna work, just do it. And I have to remind myself that I am a spiritual being having a physical experience. And because of that, I have the power to change what I am going through. I have the power to give myself self-respect, and in turn, having the self-respect will make you more attractive to the person that you should be with. One great way of cutting cords with your ex and to attract a new person that is fit for you, is to write a list of characteristics that you would like in a person. Not what you don't want, what you would actually like in that person. And that can help you really develop and attract the right people. All right? So that's all I have for you guys tonight. I hope I didn't keep you too long. I hope you enjoyed this live. If you would like me to do these kind of lives again, just go through. I'm going to post this on my YouTube. Go to my YouTube, youtube.com/priestessmay, and subscribe to my YouTube, because I will be doing these lives and then posting them on my YouTube, but I want to make sure that there's people on my YouTube to watch them. And I will also be posting more lives on my YouTube channel. Not lives, videos on my YouTube channel for you guys to enjoy. So, hope you enjoyed this message. And my book, you can go on priestessmay.com to see how far I am booked currently. I usually do book out a few days in advance. I believe right now I am booked out for a week. I might be wrong. You might just need to check. I did ask my assistant to open up a few more slots. So if you would like to get a reading from me, you can visit priestessmay.com. If you would like to see my other YouTube videos, my other content, you can go on youtube.com/priestessmay. And you can always, if you are new to this video, you can share it with a friend. You can tag a friend here, introduce them to my channel, to my content, if you believe that it could be helpful to them. I really appreciate you guys' support, your business, and I really appreciate you guys listening to my messages and letting me speak on whatever my guides guide me to speak on. So many blessings to you, and see you guys soon. Bye.